A random finding might change decades of history. For a long time, many believed that King Solomon's tomb and the enormous wealth rumored to be inside were only myths. Many searches turned up nothing, and experts were sure it would never be found. That is, until a team of Israeli archaeologists from the Hebrew University of Jerusalem, while in search of the lost temple of King David, discovered an unexpected location, a site that may be the long-lost resting place of King Solomon himself. What secrets lie within? Accompany us as we investigate a discovery that has been in the making for 3,000 years. In Jerusalem, a remarkable find has changed our understanding of one of history's most iconic monarchs. A team of archaeologists, led by Dr. Eilat Mazar of the Hebrew University of Jerusalem, set out to investigate the ancient remains of the city of David. But what they discovered was considerably more surprising than they had anticipated. What started as a hunt for King David's palace quickly turned into an unexpected discovery, evidence pointing to his son King Solomon's long-lost grave. Prior to this incredible accomplishment, Dr. Mazar had already created history. In 1986, she discovered a large gatehouse north of the city of David, in a location known as the Ophel. She first dated it to the 9th century BCE, avoiding inquiry about its relationship to Solomon. Without substantial proof, she declined to make strong statements. However, as time passed and new discoveries emerged, everything changed. Dr. Mazar began her Ophel explorations in 2009, aiming to re-evaluate her previous discoveries. With new tools and a better grasp of the site, she recalculated the gatehouse's age. The evidence now pointed to the 10th century BCE, the reign of King Solomon himself. This understanding was momentous. If this understanding is accurate, it implies that they have found direct evidence of Solomon's rule, a discovery that many experts have overlooked for decades. Why should we believe this discovery? Dr. Mazar was more than simply an archaeologist. She was a careful scientist who relied on facts instead of assumptions. She often said, "We must let the stones speak," underlining her determination to reveal history based on facts. Her credibility was universally accepted, even by doubters. In a 2007 article published in the Biblical Archaeology Review, recognized academic Herschel Shanks remarked, "Nobody would question her professional competence as an archaeologist." Many researchers keep historical and scientific books separate, but Dr. Mazar thought it would be helpful to use the Bible to guide her study. Some scholars said that Bible stories were not true, but she thought they held important historical hints. Her desire to look into this link and her knowledge of science were crucial in making this amazing finding. Even more interesting is the fact that the team wasn't looking for Solomon's tomb when they made this discovery. Their main goal was much bigger. They wanted to find King David's home. As they carefully dug up the oldest part of Jerusalem, they came across a huge wall that went 210 feet long. The building had what looked like the remains of a royal palace, a gatehouse and a corner tower. Its size and shape made it look like it belonged to a very important person. The group quickly recognized that they had discovered something remarkable. The building had amazing resemblances to accounts of Solomon's ambitious architectural endeavors, suggesting that this could have a direct connection to his rule. Radiocarbon dating verified the site's origin during King Solomon's reign, supporting the notion that it was a component of his famous kingdom. But could this building have belonged to a different king? Dr. Mazar gave this idea a lot of thought. On the other hand, she said, very few kings in the 10th century BCE were able to build something this complicated. History books primarily mention King David and his son Solomon. Given the proximity of David's house, there was ample evidence linking this location to Solomon's rule. Archaeological discoveries at the site contributed to the enigma by demonstrating how significant it was historically. Archaeologists discovered 3 massive pottery storage pots near the gatehouse, one of which contained a Hebrew inscription, indicating it may have belonged to a high-ranking official. They discovered other interesting figurines from 10th century BCE Jerusalem nearby, including ones depicting animals and symbols of fertility. They also discovered jar handles with the words "to the king" on them, as well as other inscriptions with Hebrew names. Based on what the Bible says about Solomon's rule, these findings showed a well-run government and a thriving society. Its consequences are huge. For hundreds of years, scholars have debated whether Solomon was indeed the powerful king described in ancient texts, or if he was simply a small tribe leader whose narrative has been exaggerated over time. There is strong proof from this find that he ruled over a large kingdom that had the power to build huge buildings in Jerusalem. The city of David, which was named after Solomon's father, has been thought to be where Jerusalem's first society began for a long time. It's just south of the Old City and is thought to be the first place where King David set up his capital after taking over Jerusalem. Archaeologists have found many buildings and items in this area over the years, which has helped us understand its long and complicated history. The city of David is now one of the world's most important historical places. It is on the eastern hill of Jerusalem and is called Wadi Hilweh. The Kidron Valley and the Tyropoion Valley are on either side of it. Excavations have uncovered ancient defenses, including protection walls from the Middle Bronze Age. The stepped stone structure and the large stone structure are 2 of the most intriguing finds. Some scholars think they have something to do with King David's rule. Even among the amazing things found in the old city of David, the Siloam Tunnel is one of the most interesting. This amazing old technical work, which is now known as Hezekiah's Tunnel, was built to bring water into Jerusalem during sieges and protect the city's water supply. It was traditionally attributed to King Hezekiah, but recent discoveries have brought up intriguing questions about its real age, which suggests it may have been built before his rule. Archaeologists have also found artifacts from the Roman era, such as the Pool of Siloam and an old street, which give us a glimpse into Jerusalem's complex past. These excavations are now part of the Jerusalem Walls National Park, managed by the Israel Nature and Parks Authority and run by the City of David Foundation. The park is located in Wadi Hilweh, which is part of the Palestinian neighborhood of Silwan in East Jerusalem, right next to an Israeli settlement. This location is steeped in history and has been the subject of numerous controversies. It's not just an archaeological gem, it's also significant culturally. The large stone structure is one of the most significant structures that has been discovered. According to certain specialists, this remarkable structure may be the remnants of King David's residence. It really highlights how important the city of David was as a political and administrative center during the reigns of David and Solomon. If these walls could talk, they'd probably share tales of royal orders, diplomatic meetings, and the daily lives of the people who lived in ancient Jerusalem. The royal remains of King Solomon and his successors were still a secret, even with all the excitement over these discoveries. Archaeologists searched the city of David for decades in an attempt to find these burial places. They were absent for a variety of reasons. Academics proposed that the tombs were lost to time, destroyed by centuries of conflict, or buried beneath layers of newer structures, while others speculated that they remained concealed in unexplored areas of the city. Still, the search went on with unwavering determination. Finding the graves of Israel's first kings would change our perception of the biblical story and the traditions surrounding royal funerals in ancient Jerusalem. It would also be a significant historical event. Even in the absence of clear proof of these graves, The abundance of objects discovered offered priceless hints about the city's illustrious history, enabling scholars to piece together the daily routines and political systems of its early residents. Before Dr. Eilat Mazar's important discoveries, there were many ideas about where Solomon's body was buried. The possibility that his tomb was under the Temple Mount, sacred to Jews, Christians, and Muslims, was widely discussed. For Muslims, this holy place is called Haram al-Sharif, which means the noble sanctuary. It is thought that the Prophet Muhammad went up there during his night journey. The famous Dome of the Rock, a beautiful piece of architecture and a holy landmark, stands for this deep spiritual importance. The Temple Mount has been a sought-after and disputed area for ages, taken over by various civilizations like the Jebusites, Israelites, Babylonians, Greeks, Persians, Romans, Byzantines, early Muslim rulers, Crusaders, Mamluks, Ottomans, and the British. Not many spots on the planet can boast such a rich blend of history, all packed into a small space. Despite its significance, the site faces major challenges in archaeological exploration. Modern excavations have mostly been held back due to strict religious and political sensitivities, which are managed by the Islamic Waqf. Many people view digging under an active place of worship as a disrespect to its sacredness. Historically, there have been limited efforts to explore beneath the Temple Mount, often kept under wraps. Back in the late 19th century, European adventurers were busy sneaking around, checking out underground caves and passageways without anyone really knowing about it. From 1938 to 1942, British archaeologists did some small-scale digging while they were working on the renovations of the Al-Aqsa Mosque, but even those efforts didn't turn up much information. The underground layers under the Temple Mount are still one of archaeology's biggest mysteries. So, if Solomon's tomb is really over there, getting to it would definitely need some serious teamwork and smart negotiations. Ancient writings and oral traditions often mention royal graves at or close to the Temple Mount area. These stories support the idea that King Solomon, who is renowned for building the first temple, may have decided to be buried close to his most important architectural creation. It makes sense that a king who was so directly involved in the construction of the temple would have looked for a last burial place in this hallowed location. There are still intriguing rumors of subterranean passages and hidden rooms under the Temple Mount. Historians suggest that these underground areas could contain important relics or possibly royal graves. However, these theories remain theoretical in the absence of the ability to confirm such assertions by actual excavation. Although a few excavations around the Temple Mount have produced a variety of antiquities, none have offered conclusive proof of Solomon's last resting place. Archaeologists must navigate a delicate balance between delving into the past and respecting the religious and cultural sentiments associated with a sacred area that remains vibrant. The discovery of Solomon's tomb under the Temple Mount would be a historic event for history, archaeology, and religion. Such a find would not only shed light on the past, but it would also likely stir up strong feelings and change stories that millions of people hold dear. However, there are other theories regarding the location of King Solomon's tomb. Over the years, numerous ideas have emerged, each offering a unique perspective on the potential location of King Solomon's tomb. The Cave of Zedekiah, which is also called Solomon's Quarries, is one of the most well-known places connected to Solomon. This huge 5-acre rock cave is below the Muslim quarter in the old city of Jerusalem. The mine has grown over thousands of years, covering 5 city blocks. It is thought to have given the stone used to build Solomon's first temple, because the Meliki limestone found there was strong and didn't wear away easily, traits that were perfect for royal building projects. Zedekiah's cave has an intriguing past that goes beyond its possible link to Solomon. A story says that when Babylonian troops surrounded Jerusalem, King Zedekiah tried to escape through this cave. The spot is also connected to the Freemasons, who see it as a place of immense symbolic value, though a lot of this is just guesswork. Today, people can go on organized walks of parts of the cave, but they can't get to other parts because they are unsafe or because archaeological studies are still going on there. Hezekiah's Tunnel, an old river that was an important part of Jerusalem's defenses, is another place that people are interested in. The tunnel brings water from the Gihon spring to the pool of Siloam. King Hezekiah ordered its construction to prepare for an impending Assyrian attack. Its path is especially interesting in the search for Solomon's tomb, because it goes under the city and passes important historical sites, like parts of the Western Wall and Warren's Gate. Experts believe the tunnel may have once concealed a royal grave. Mount Zion has also been talked about as a possible place for King Solomon to rest. In the past, people have connected Mount Zion to the city of David, but this connection is based on a long-held mistake. Solomon's presumed burial place, King David's grave, did not lie on Mount Zion. Instead, it was in the city of David, which is part of Jerusalem's old city. This confusion comes from the Middle Ages, when Byzantine visitors thought a hill south of the Armenian Quarter in the Old City was Old Jerusalem and called it Mount Zion. But records from the past and the Bible show that the first city of David was on a smaller hill south of the Temple Mount. The Jebusites lived in this area before King David took it over. It was Jerusalem's center for more than 200 years before the city grew to the west. People thought that David's tomb was on Mount Zion for a long time. Others, like David, Solomon, and a few other Judah kings, may have been buried in what is now called Ir David, or the City of David. Scriptures such as 1 Kings 2:10 confirm this, stating that David's burial took place in the City of David. Also in the chapter, it says that David ruled Israel for 40 years, ruling from Hebron for 7 years and Jerusalem for 33 years before Solomon took over. The location of David's tomb remained unknown until the 2nd century CE, following the destruction of Jerusalem and the exile of the Jews. The Bible's constant allusions to Ir David as Judah's early king's burial site imply the royal necropolis existed there. The Seal of Solomon mythology adds still another level of mystery. This magical signet ring, also called the Ring of Solomon, was said to give the monarch the power to interact with animals and govern other worldly entities. Jewish traditions include the works of the 1st century historian Josephus and the 3rd century spiritual treatise Sefer HaRazim, which contain the first mentions of this relic. The Babylonian Talmud also mentions the tradition, attributing Solomon's intellect and superhuman powers to the ring's magic. Although the exact location of Solomon's burial is still unknown, the burial of the kings in Jerusalem has long been associated with him. Contemporary research has refuted the original belief that this was the final resting place of King David and King Solomon. The name has endured, however. Reopened to the public just lately, the site, which goes back to the 1st century CE. Or will it continue to be one of the biggest mysteries in history? Share your ideas in the comments.